I'm Natasha, and if you're watching this, I'm going to talk about the planet Saturn. So, to start off with, what is Saturn? So, I like to explain if Saturn was an actual human figure or archetype, Saturn would be a very restrictive, kind of stoic, reserved kind of person. This is the kind of person, if Saturn was a human being, this person would have like 2, 3 outfits in their closet, and they would just put that on rotation. They'd only own 1 or 2 pairs of shoes. They would be so focused on working on their craft or whatever they're passionate about every single day, almost all day long, to do the hard work, figure out the setbacks, the hardships, the weird things that they didn't know about before every single day in order to master whatever craft or thing that they are trying to develop, grow, build, whatever it is, into something a lot bigger. And so Saturn energy, if it was like a person, understands this hard dedication that is so freaking slow. It is not short-term fast. It is thinking about longevity, what is going to last the test of time, what is going to be durable and reliable, what is going to build a very strong foundation, this strong basis in order to then build up. But if your foundation is really weak or it was rushed, you didn't think about all the little things and details and all these different outliers that you might not encounter on a regular day basis. And sometimes that just requires experience and life experience, and things in the world also change, and then you have to maneuver around things like that. So Saturn understands this long, very hard, restrictive energy, but it is something that it is willing to work on. It is something that it is passionate about in order to do it. Otherwise, if you don't care about it, usually you have zero motivation to even try, but Saturn understands if you really want something, like you really want it, and it seems so unreachable and far away, well, you still have to start somewhere. You have to figure out the process, try it, actually get out there and try again, but never quit, never change your mind, not like, oh, I don't think this is for me because it was hard. No, Saturn energy understands that you have to push through hardship. You have to be restricted and squeezed. So Saturn, just like the figure that only owns 2 outfits in their closet, they know that even though they want all these things, they want nice things, they want luxury, like a luxury lifestyle, they want a lot of money, they want status, that you just don't get there if you started from absolutely nothing. They didn't get an inheritance of like, oh, all the work is done, and so you just get to enjoy. That's not Saturn. So Saturn understands that if I want something in the long run that's going to last and be secured or make me feel successful, then I'm going to spend, a period of time or maybe a long time being very restrictive. Like, even though I want something and I have the money to go get it, that doesn't mean I go get it. That's Saturn. It's like, no, I have to restrict right now. I need to save 90% of my income in order to start this business that I'm so devoted to. It is the, Jeff Bezos in an office starting from nothing. It is all these big CEOs that started from nothing and now they're huge empires, but nobody really wants to really look and feel the burden and pain and hardship of the process. but that is Saturn energy. And Saturn takes about 30 years to go through all of the 12 zodiac signs. So that's how slow it is. So everyone experiences their first Saturn return in the age bubble of 30. You might enter your Saturn return lesson around the age 27, 28, and you might think, this is great, this is what I want, or whatever. And then a little bit after the age of 30, 31, 32, 33, it plays out differently based on what lessons are you supposed to be learning, or what did you avoid, or you just didn't quite get it without this real life experience. And so after that, you might have a different shift in perspective. You become more of a real adult, not this paper legal adult, like you're 18, therefore you're an adult in the eyes of the government. As a more mature human being, you've kind of crossed that little mountain of maturity in some way, like another level. Not saying that if you're younger than 30, that you're not mature. That's not what I'm saying. But, you go through this Saturn return approximately every 30 years. Usually Saturn's energy gets a little bit lighter after the age of 40, like around 40 and after, and so it just takes a really long time. It is something you have to work on. If you know what zodiac sign your Saturn is in and what house it is in, you can kind of understand what struggles you're trying to learn. And usually it's very hard. It's not easy for you, or doesn't come easy for you. You always have to work really hard in this department in life, no matter how hard you try. And it'll just keep testing you. Saturn is like the strictest teacher in school, and nobody wants this teacher. But the teacher is that way because that person actually wants you to do really well. Like if you had the strictest teacher in high school and you survived that teacher, and they put all these red marks, all these lines, and you thought you did so well, and you get it back and you're like, I got a freaking D or an F, and there's all these lines, and like, how can I do extra credit or whatever? And you turn it in and you get it back and you get even more red lines. You're like, and then you see Jilly Bo Bob and Sally Mae Sue in the other class with one of the most fun, easy teachers, and they're getting A's and they hardly have to do anything, and you're like, ugh, it's not fair. Like, this teacher is going to ruin my GPA, and I'm not going to be able to get into the college that I want because I just happen to get a really hard teacher. But if you really survived that really strict Saturn teacher who did not take it easy on you because they wanted you to survive, they wanted to teach you the things the right way so well right now while you're under their wing, under their guardianship. So this way, when you're off in the real world where life is actually hard, it's not that bad because you actually went through brutal training under the shelter or mentorship of a teacher, if they actually approached it like a mentor, because I know not all teachers have the time to do stuff like that or care, So, that is Saturn. It is brutal. It's hard. It's nitpicky. It's a pain in the butt. And it keeps kind of like setting you back over and over and over, delays. It makes you end up doing more work. You have to try and fix the work that you already thought you did, and you don't even know what you're doing wrong because you thought you were doing pretty well, and they have to find something else for them to nitpick at you, And so once you go to college or whatever, you survived. It's a piece of cake. College is a piece of cake because you did the brutal training. You're already prepared, while the other Sally Mae Sue, whoever, Billy Joe Bob, went to the easy teacher and now they're struggling. They're making D's and F's, having to repeat classes, pay for more tuition. They're not able to have fun in college and go to parties and stuff because they're so busy now trying to figure it out because they got the easy way in high school. So that's another way to kind of try and comprehend this Saturn archetype, because Saturn is freaking slow. It is no fun. It always has setbacks. It makes you feel really squeezed wherever it is. Like if you have Saturn in the 5th house, the house of fun, house of play, dating, self-expression, it's the Leo house. It's going to be like, I'm not allowed to have fun, you know, and it's all these different outliers that it's not even your fault. It's just, it's happening to you. And it's, or maybe you chose something, you know, you chose to get married and you chose to have a kid. And now you have to be more responsible. There's less time to just go off and have fun and do whatever you want. You have responsibility because Saturn is responsibility, duty, burdens, restrictions, like, oh, we need to go to the doctor's appointment, or, you know, we have to say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't go to this party because my kid is sick and I don't want to get y'all sick, and blah, blah, blah. You know, it is that responsibility, that squeeze, restriction in that house or that zodiac sign, or a mixture of both. So I hope I tapped into everything I wanted to say about Saturn energy. I'm a Capricorn sun, so I understand this sad story of Saturn. It is no bueno, and but it's actually very rewarding because you actually grow, evolve, learn. That builds self-esteem, that builds resilience. You feel proud of yourself that once upon a time, like, I never talked. I'm not curious. I'm an observer. And it took me a long time to practice speaking and feeling comfortable, not having social anxiety, and learning how to ask questions. It sounds really stupid, but that's what happened for me. I have Saturn in the 3rd house of Sagittarius, and I happen to have my Chiron in the opposite, Gemini, in the 9th house. So we'll also check out your Chiron sign in the zodiac sign and the house that one is in, because they kind of might relate to each other. Because your Chiron wound, you tend to want it, or you want to be better at it. And sometimes your Saturn is going to be somewhere to where it might force you to help actually take the time over the years or whatever to kind of slowly build up and work on that Chiron wound placement over time. If you choose to work on it, because you can always choose to run away and escape and not face the reality of the situation, whatever that is for you. So that concludes my intro for Saturn. And in the next segment, hopefully I have time to just timestamp where the real zodiac sign starts. So yeah, check that out. So yeah, and please like and subscribe. Comment down below. What is your experience with Saturn? Most likely it's going to be sucky, sad stories. So just don't forget that you are on a public platform if you're sharing or oversharing. So yeah, okay. Okay, this video is for Saturn in Scorpio. So the first part of the video, I was kind of touching base on what Saturn is. So let's just touch base on what the Scorpion energy is. So Scorpio is a fixed water sign. It is very, very deep, super, super deep, to the point of maybe unconscious, like psychological things that we might not be completely aware of because it's that deep. You know, you have to go down the rabbit hole and get even deeper down that rabbit hole to really reveal what's really going on. And it is about other people's money, other people's resources, or the things that they can provide, or the material things that they can buy, can provide, debts, inheritances, death, transformation, sex, the occult, things that are unhidden, secretive, unseen, things that are beneath the surface. Vulnerability, being able to get very deep and intimate with another person, trust issues, or just trust in general, probably fear of being betrayed in some way, and kind of like, it kind of feels maybe like chaos because it goes through these kind of huge waves of highs and lows. You know, that's kind of the Scorpio feeling. Like, you feel metaphorically, hopefully not literally, you feel like you're dying, you go through this deep part or whatever, and then you become more resilient, or you grow and come back up stronger and better. And so when you combine Saturn and Scorpio energy, it is kind of like, it's like Scorpio already has a really, 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 really hard time of letting go. It's like, let go of that death grip of what you're trying to hold on to, or some type of fear, or, you know, something, you know, that may be outdated now, but you're still holding on to it because it's freaking scary. You know, it feels like you're dying if you can't have control over or cling on to whatever is going on for you. So it's like this death grip of like, no, I have to have control, because if I don't have control over it, then like my life is going to be chaos, you know. And, you know, you always have to be in control in order to feel kind of steady or calm, because it comes from some kind of unhealed wound within you. And of course, you have to look at your entire birth chart and such things like that, not just this one specific area. But Saturn also being in here, because Saturn is freaking slow and it drags things out so slow. You know, it takes forever to learn. And it's like, you know, that repetition, that mean teacher or that disciplinarian is like, you didn't do it right. You didn't quite get it right. You missed the spot. You know, you need to do it again. You know, like, you could do better, you know, over and over and over again until you really get it, you know. And so Scorpio is like, no, I want to hold on, you know, and Saturn is like, hey, we need to keep growing, keep evolving. Let's work on this. Come on, you know, trying to teach you these lessons in weird ways. And Scorpio is like, oh, I really want to resist and be kind of defiant or rebellious against this kind of teacher energy that's trying to make me learn something that I don't feel safe or want to do, you know. And so resist. So it can kind of give this kind of, you know, when you swing, so I don't know, pretend I have a little string with a bead or something on it, and I'm going slow, and then I get faster. And, you know, it's like energizing this kind of intense power, you know, because Scorpio is like power, very powerful. And, you know, it's resisting change and transformation. Saturn is so mean. And then it's like, okay, you've reached a threshold, you know, the pot is going to overflow. The water is going to overflow the pot that has the lid on it. And now it's going to start shaking. It can't contain the boiling water anymore, and it has to erupt, or something big happens, you know, to force you to change now, instead of you going with the flow, to change, more naturally and easily. So depending, you can make this kind of harder on yourself than it really needed to be. But at the same time, the energy and feeling is so intense for you or the individual that it's really hard to kind of just ease into it. So it feels more intense. Perhaps, you grew up in a childhood environment where you're forced to learn these scorpionic type of things, whether that is actually happening to you directly or indirectly through association of the people around you, and you saw these things happening all the time and it's almost normal to you. Or maybe you grew up in a family household where there's a lot of mental disorders and psychological things that are going on, and kind of chaos in the home, to where, that is kind of normal for you, and you have to kind of grow up unlearning these things because you don't really realize that they're kind of dysfunctional. And maybe you grew up in a home that a lot of people, they didn't heal themselves. They're still acting on their unhealed traumas from their parents, and so on and so forth. Blah. So, trying to grow up and kind of picking those things out can be a little bit more challenging, or it's teaching you that at such a slowed down Saturn kind of rate for you to really, really know it. So it's almost like you're hyper vigilant, or you're extremely intuitive, or you can pick up on these little things of manipulation tactics, or deceit, sneakiness, over a period of time, to where you have a really good BS radar later on in life, in comparison to someone who is just completely naive and has nothing really intense and bad happen to them. So you can learn these things really, really well, or it's forcing you to learn these things of the scorpionic type of thing, deep psychology, change and transformation, power and control dynamics, whether you were in the environment. It's so different than just reading it in a textbook or learning in podcasts, which you can definitely do to learn more. But, when you compare someone who's grown up in something like that and has been able to heal themselves, you can actually become a really, really good healer to other people because you really know this. You can explain a concept of psychology or astrology, the occult, the taboo, whatever is kind of unconventional, not easily spoken about in the public, whatever time period you are living in. If this video still exists when I'm far gone, then you can be a really, really good healer or teacher in this department. You can even be, if it doesn't turn out in that way, can deal with money. Maybe one or both parents really abused each other or did something with money. So your resources, your sense of security, your sense of safety was kind of like wiped out, or, you had everything, and then maybe one or both parents made a really bad business deal or bad investment, or maybe one got into gambling or gambled your college savings away without the other parent knowing anything about it, anything. Relating to money and other people's resources in order to make you feel safe and secure. That can also happen because Scorpio is dealing with other people's money, debts, inheritances, resources, other people's information and things that they know, secrets that they keep, anything like that. with that opposition of feeling really unsafe or not secure financially, you can have like a really, really long period of trying to work really hard, which is that Saturn energy, is like that determination and ambition to keep on, pushing through those big cycles of, you have finances pretty well, and then you blow all your money, or whatever your belief systems are. It's like, oh, well, I might die tomorrow, so I don't want to save all my money because, I'm a risk taker, or you just have a tendency to have a life to where things just happen to you more often than others in a more dangerous way. And so you want to actually live. So you just, every paycheck, you spend all of it. That can be that kind of high and low period of your resources. So, maybe you go through, many, many years of trying to learn how to work smart with money, how to use other people's resources in order to feel safe and secure, anything to do with that, or being multidimensional in the way that you make money. It's not like you just go to one job and make income. You might disperse your investments in a variety of ways in order to increase your income. But then that you're going to die one day, because that's Scorpio energy, is death in life is short, and you have to be kind of wise with the time that you do have here. And it's not fair for everyone, like what, home, household, financial income, and so on and so forth that an individual is born into, so it's kind of like, what do? You go ahead and live and just spend the money because you don't take the money with you when you die, or, whatever it is. So it's trying to teach you something about these topics of Scorpio energy. It can also be trying to teach you how to be more vulnerable and be emotionally expressive, because that might be very scary and unsafe. There might have been a lot of trust issues when you grow up, or you found that you were lured into like relationships where you were drawn to people who are kind of narcissistic or sociopathic or histrionic, or these kind of personality disorders. And then you were love bombed and bombarded with their fake empathy, and then later down the line they pulled a 180 on you, and you feel like you died and you can't trust. Or your friends, like you thought they were your friends, and then they kind of backstab you behind your back. Or you lend money to people or friends or family members, and they totally abuse you in your finances. So this is dealing with other people's psychology, your own psychology, and awareness of that, learning, unlearning whatever you grew up with, and finding dysfunctions in what you're attracted to, or what you are drawn to, or boundaries, learning about more healthy boundaries for yourself, for the sake of yourself. And then, what are your limits? If you do involve yourself financially with other people, what are your boundaries with that in order to keep yourself safe? So those are all kind of scorpionic type of things. So super deep, super obsessive, possessive, fixated, kind of working with vulnerability or feeling safe to be vulnerable, learning to let go of control and control issues, even if they're nice, covert, polite control issues. Are you kind of self-sabotaging yourself because it's just a little bit too tight in a way to where it affects your relationships that would have been healthy, or being able to choose wiser partners to associate with because of those trust issues that you grew up with or are having to kind of work through, which is very hard for any kind of Scorpio energy, but you are really being put through the ringer with Saturn, the sign of Saturn being in a very, very tough sign of Scorpio, because it's super deep, almost like enmeshed with whatever it is. Scorpio is almost like want to be like enmeshed with whatever it is. So, breaking away from that enmeshment is like more painful. Like someone else could be like, it could be the same topic and they can detach from it like it's not that big of a deal. But a Scorpio type feeling is like way more intense to where it hurts more. Scorpio is more sensitive, so they're a little bit more easily hurt, but they're usually more willing to attack or fight back and protect themselves in whatever way. But Saturn is trying to teach you to be vulnerable and let go and try to heal your trust issues and learn a little bit more about everything like psychology, deep psychology and intuition. You could be like psychic in a way, or a medium, or maybe see ghosts, see past lifetimes, all those kind of taboo, weird things that, if you were to say anything to someone, they might think that you're a crazy person. So you keep it a deep, dark secret. You could be really good at being secretive in general with what you're really doing in order to get ahead, because people kind of like shame you or put you down, or saying that your ideas of how to make power moves and move ahead is kind of like the wrong way of doing things. So you just kind of keep it a secret because there's something that maybe or how to work really hard at that other people are not willing to do. And you're able to, be really, really secure, or work on your sense of security, whether that's within yourself, like your self-value, self-esteem, or whatever your resources are, and the material things that you have, or your investments and such stuff like that. I think that is pretty much it that I can get for Saturn in Scorpio. So if you enjoyed this video, if it resonated, please like and subscribe. Comment down below what your experiences are, if you feel safe to express yourself. Don't forget, this is a public platform, and you're exposed to all kinds of crazy people on the internet. So just like always, try not to take it personally, because these are random people who, you should care about your own life over other people. And they're, they're there. Appreciate them from afar, but, we all self-expose ourselves in some degree, and that is just telling other people, if we're not conscious of that ourselves, of something that we need to work on and heal, because it is obviously not healed if it's coming off in a kind of inappropriate or immature way. so you're calling yourself out. Not saying that you are doing that, but that's just in general. Commenters in the comment section will tend to do that sometimes. So yeah, check out my website, www.natashascreativewellness.com, if you're interested in a natal chart reading that's pre-recorded, or any future coaching later on. Email. I think my email is somewhere on there or through my website. Just ask, and maybe the time will be right. Right now, the time is not right, but maybe in the future it will be. And check out my book. It will be coming out June 30th, 2025, this year, whenever you're watching this video. And it's on Amazon. It will be available in most countries, but in English. So I hope you can read English if you're interested. Kindle version, paperback, and hardback copy. Okay.